Hi YouTube. A few years ago I made a video called An Open Question, and somebody actually responded to me in a video response. So I thought, if I have the respect to show my face on YouTube, putting my question out there, someone might be nice enough to make a video response to my open question. I figured, hey, I'm here, I'm out in the open, I'm presenting myself in a somewhat oppositional way, but that would be respectful enough. Doing so would be respectful enough that you'd actually dignify it with a response. Now, my question is, and I'm going to show respect to members of the church by referring you to the proper way of labeling you. I know you don't like to be called Mormons, so I'm going to say the whole thing. Members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Tongue twister there. Members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or any practicing members of the church. What are your thoughts on the phrase drinking the Kool-Aid? If you're unfamiliar with what drinking the Kool-Aid is, in the 1970s, a destructive religious group called the People's Temple, led by a man called Jim Jones, had his entire congregation commit collective suicide by drinking a poisonous cocktail flavored with something called Flavor-Aid. But Kool-Aid is a more popular additive, so Kool-Aid got the unfortunate label. By the way, we here in Indonesia also have our own form of Kool-Aid or Flavor-Aid. It's called Nutrisari. It's a powdered that you put in your drink to add flavor to the water. I thought I might show it here. So that's what, and then the phrase "drink the Kool-Aid" was born. And it basically means blind obedience to your leader or leaders or your organization. Now, the reason I direct this to the LDS is because the members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints put a lot of emphasis on obedience to the church. There is, of course, missions, which has a lot of rules. There's a song that repeats the phrase "follow the prophet" over 20 times. And then there is the word of wisdom. Now, the word of wisdom, at first they will say it's a dietary code to keep healthy. But when I point out inconsistencies in it, like, why are you not allowed to drink coffee, but you're allowed to drink high caffeine, high sugar Coca-Cola? But then you're not allowed to drink decaf coffee or non-caffeinated tea or hot chocolate for that matter. So when I point out inconsistencies in the word of wisdom, then they will just resort to, well, it's more about obedience than it is healthy living. And they sometimes say, we don't have to follow the word of wisdom. We just feel that we want to. But following the word of wisdom is important if you want to enter the temple. So my question is then, because members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints put a lot of emphasis on obedience to the church, what are your thoughts on the phrase drinking the Kool-Aid? Now, I want you to think long and hard about this, because when I one time said this on the internet to some practicing members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where they say, no, we don't blindly follow the prophet or the church leadership. We follow Jesus through the Spirit, and the Spirit tells us that we should be obedient to the prophet. Now, so my question then would be, how do you know when to consult the Spirit, and how do you know when the Spirit is telling you to not listen to church instructions? So I have this idea of logical thinking, like if I'm not indoctrinated or brainwashed, I believe in independent critical thinking, critical thought. If somebody tells me to do something unrational or unreasonable that I cannot, how do I put this? I cannot see the value in taking a certain action, and yet my leader tells me to take that action. I don't go to a quiet place and pray. I think about it first, like, is this the right thing to do? Does this make sense to me? Now, is that the Spirit of God telling me, even without me consulting the Spirit first? So, that's what I want to know. What happens? What happens if your church leaders tell you to drink something and you don't know why? Do you go to a quiet room and pray about it? Are you sure that's the Spirit? And what if the Spirit tells you it's the right thing to do? How do you know? Well, no, the Spirit will obviously tell us it's the wrong thing to do. You'll say that. But how do you know that's the Spirit or your logical thinking? How do you know that it's just your independent critical thought or the Spirit talking to you? And for all I know, you might even make the wrong decision. So how do you differentiate between the two? Do you ever Let me put it to you this way. Do you ever imagine it's possible that one day you would actually have to ignore your church leaders when they give you an instruction, a bad instruction? Do you ever imagine that day coming? So, I'll ask it one last time. Members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, what is your thoughts on the phrase, drink the Kool-Aid? And how do you know when not to drink the Kool-Aid? To simplify the question. Okay, thanks for listening.